This is John Cola with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. In this episode, we're going to show you guys if you guys should buy an Aicook, also known as Aicok, maybe it sucks, juicer instead of the Omega 8007 juicer, right? I want you guys to know that there are pros and cons to every single juicer in the world. In some respects, this juicer may be better. In other respects, this juicer may be better, and unfortunately we cannot leave it up to the manufacturers to let you guys know which juicer is better, because obviously manufacturers are trying to sell their juicers to you. That being said, I'm a retailer and I sell all the major brand juicers, and I compare them and contrast them to empower you, the consumer, so that you guys can make the best choice in juicer. Something that will last, something that will give you the results that you want and the ease of cleaning that you want, as well as other features that the juicer may possess, and cutting through the BS and the marketing fluff. I tell you guys like it is, and if this machine beats this machine over here, man, I'm glad to say this machine is better. But in the past, it hasn't been the case that the inexpensive juices that you buy on a big box, super mega retailer site, which I will not mention, fare too well, because most oftentimes they're basically simply knock-off machines, alright? So the first thing I want to compare when talking about these two machines are the brand behind the juicer. So pretty much the Omega brand has been probably the third most long-standing juicer company in the United States. I mean, I think maybe Norwalk is older and Champion is older. Then after that, Omega has been literally in business for like 30 years, you know, in the United States, founded in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, which I have visited their headquarters there. They also have a location in Florida that I have also visited, you know, so they have a physical address you can visit and knock on their door should you have issues. So Aicook, on the other hand, formerly known as Aicok, and there's some disparity about that. It says, some places say, you know, the name was changed from Aicok to Aicook, and then some places say Aicook is a division of Aicok, and I don't know what's true, but basically they're the same company on some respects, and they sell on a major retailer's website here in the United States. And they don't, as far as I'm aware, they don't have a physical location. You could go down to their door in Harrisburg or wherever they are, knock on their door and say, hey, I got this machine, I want parts for it. They can't help you because they are what I would call a virtual company. Now, there's nothing necessarily inherently wrong with virtual companies, although support may be lacking. As far as I'm aware, Aicook, Aicok, and many other retailers that sell on a major retailer's website in the United States are basically Chinese companies. So literally when you're buying an Aicok or Aicook juicer, you're exporting your money to China, which, you know, I would encourage you guys to keep your money with a business located here in the United States, such as Omega, but you guys could do what you want to do. So they basically have virtual customer support, and as far as I'm aware, most of the companies that work in this virtual fashion don't stock parts for the machine. So for example, should you break a screen, you tell them, we got a warranty claim, they're not going to send you a screen, they're probably just going to send you the whole juicer, because they don't stock parts. And then what do you do with your old juicer? Well, you throw it away. This creates more trash in the landfill, not over in China, but here in America, which I do not think is right. We do not want to pollute our earth with any more garbage than we need to. And honestly, my personal opinion, before I even start the video, is that a lot of the inexpensive juicers made in China are basically throwaway juicers, right? Another level is, can you get support? And, you know, that's questionable. I have contacted Aicok, however you want to call them, on several occasions, and I've emailed them in inquiry to see if I could sell their machines. They have not responded every time. It's been at least a half dozen times I've contacted them, right? In addition, I've seen them at the trade show, and when I talk to them at the trade show, they seem very disinterested in talking to me, because I'm a single retailer, right? I have a juicer business. I'm probably the expert in the world about juicers, but they didn't want to talk to me because they found out I was not a big corporation that could sell thousands of machines, right? My other experience with Aicook, however you want to talk about it, is that they also emailed me. Wait, John, I thought you said they didn't respond to your emails. Well, right, they did not respond to my emails, but then they're sending me spam or unsolicited emails hey, we see you have a YouTube channel. We will send you one of our juices for free if you review it. And I guess they do this to many social media influencers, me and otherwise. And I just don't want any old free juicer. And I'll tell you why, because I got about like 20 juicers in my house already, probably even more, that I'm working through testing and comparing. And some I keep, the ones that are good. I've actually owned this machine for a little bit. And then I basically, sell them off because I only want the best of the best. And I don't want to keep the garbage that basically simply does not work. So basically they solicited me to send me a free juicer, and I guess maybe it was a marketing company and not actually their company, I'm not exactly sure. And I replied to them, said, hey, I want to become a dealer, tell me more about this, I'm interested in doing a demo. But then they never got back to me either. So please be aware that Aicook, Aicok, even Omega may send juicers out to people to basically make videos to promote them. And guess what? If you get a free juicer, you're more likely to make a video that's going to say you love the juicer. And this is especially important, especially if you don't have any reference point. How can you know that this juicer is better than that juicer if you've only ever used this juicer? You think it's great because it does work, right? But I have tested probably more juicers than anybody else I know or that I've ever met to see how each one works, how I like some things about some juicers and how I don't like things about other juicers, right? So I want you guys to be aware of that in advance, right? Now let's talk about the warranty. What is the warranty on the Aicook machine? They have a 2-year warranty that comes factory standard with the machine. On the other hand, the Omega 8007 juicer has a 15-year warranty. That's 7.5 times longer warranty. You're like, wait a second, John. The Aicook juicer, that's cheaper than the Omega. We're right. It's about, I'm not going to quote prices because prices are subject to change, but I will say that the Aicook is about $100, give or take, less than the machine here. So basically, if you're giving up, if you're paying $100 more, you get 13 extra years on the warranty, whereas you only get 2 years. Now, there's a caveat on the Aicook. Should you register your warranty online, they will extend your warranty for 1 year, making it a total of 3 years for you. That being said, the Omega warranty is still 5 times longer, and you're only paying $100 more for the machine. But aside from just a 5 times longer warranty, you're going to get a lot of other things with the Omega juicer that you're not going to get with the Aicook that I'll be now sharing with you guys. All right. So both these machines are known as single horizontal auger juicers, a slow juicer or a cold press juicer in my personal opinion, because it literally grinds up and presses out and squeezes the pulp, the ground up pulp, through the screen to basically extract the juice. So there's no heat involved in this process, although some components may get warm if there's lots of friction and the machine is backing up on you and the pulp is not ejecting. So thereby these machines make a high quality juice in my personal opinion. And a matter of fact, I only use slow juicers when I'm juicing. Aicook, Aicok may have high-speed machines, or other brands may have high-speed machines that I'm not generally a fan of. Take a look at my last video, post a link down below, where I compared the all-new NutriBullet juicer that just came out. That's a high-speed juicer. In my personal opinion, it did not fare well. So yeah, these are both horizontal auger juicers. But that being said, Aicook, Aicok is actually at the forefront of horizontal auger juicers, right? They are making changes and design changes and doing things a bit different than the old-fashioned, tried-and-true model. And it is a time-proven model. It is literally a workhorse, a power horse. We see very little issues with the 8007 machine. Now, I want to let you guys know that the 8007 is basically this color here. It's a silver color. And if you want one that's chrome-plated plastic, it's an 8008 model. They also have a model that looks very similar to this, which is actually identical to this, known as the 8006 HDS. That is exactly the same as the 8007, so the 8007 and the 8006 HDS is the same exact juicer, maybe with a little bit different label on the bottom, but functionally they are identical. Omega has different models that is being sold through different sales channels. In addition, they have the J8006 HDC, which is basically the 8008, which is basically exactly the same machine, but in the chrome-plated plastic on the casing here. I do like that this machine has a handle, whereas the Aicook does not have any handle on it. So yeah, that's how it is. So these juicers work a little bit differently. This is the tried and true design that came originally out of Korea. And basically how it works is you put the produce in here, and you put the produce in, and then basically it hits an auger that's running forward, so it directs the pulp forwards. And then as the produce goes in here, it gets crushed and squeezed, and then ground up into smaller and smaller parts until it comes out the end here. And then literally the produce is crushed and squeezed, and the juice comes out the holes here for the secondary stage. And on the initial crush, if you're using something like oranges, juice is released as it's initially crushed, and then comes out the first stage here, which is also stainless steel. Finally, the pulp, as it's dry, comes out this end because there's a little silicone flap that kind of keeps a little bit of back pressure on the pulp to not allow it to come out until it's more dry, and then it ejects out the front. And so that's how it works. And then the 8007 originally did not have this, but now it has this feature. It has this little dial on the end. So I don't know if you guys could see that, but it's little segments. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 segments, and there's a little arrow up here. So generally you want the segments onto the maximum setting. I would call this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You want it all the way to 5. This will put the maximum back pressure aside from the silicone flap there. You could go ahead and adjust this cap, and you could take it completely off or put it all the way down, crank it to 5, which is basically puts maximum back pressure to ensure the pulp stays in drier. This is perfect if you're juicing something like celery or carrots. Should you be juicing something that's a softer texture like firm apples, not soft apples? Soft apples don't tend to juice well. No soft fruits, including soft cucumbers, will juice well because it needs some hard fiber to work. But then if you're doing something soft, you'd even remove this part, or just put it on to like, which removing is, I would call 0. And then if you want it to go to 1, you would put it on 1. If you want to allow for a little bit less back pressure to allow some of that softer pulp to come out. So I love this design. It's time proven. It's been working for a long time now. Aicook, on the other hand, has a new way of doing things, right? This machine, instead of when you put the produce in, it doesn't actually run forward. It runs backwards towards the motor. So this is literally turning things upside down. And then as you put things in, the produce is shot backwards and then ground up. So let's go ahead and take this apart and show you guys how this works. This end cap actually has a few different settings: low, normal, and more. And I think this is for the amount of pulp that's going to come out in the juice. So I'm just going to put it to less pulp, or actually a normal less pulp, because I want the least amount of pulp in there. So you have one adjustment on there. And then this auger does not pull out the end easily. There's this button to release this whole housing, which actually I kind of do like that push to unlock feature, whereas on the Omega, there's a little collar that you spin to the open to remove, okay? Once you get this removed, then you can press this auger in the back, and the auger comes out. So this is literally a backwards running auger because it's sitting in the machine like that, whereas this auger is sitting in the machine like this. So let's find out which auger is longer comparing. So actually the auger on the Omega is a little bit longer, so that means it may be more effective in extracting juice. And both these augers are black. I know on the Omega it is made out of the Ultim material, and I'm not sure exactly the material on the Aicook machine. Now also on the Aicook machine you have another adjustment here. You have fruit, veggie, and sorbet. And the fruit, veggie, sorbet is this little clicker here on the back. And what this does, this basically changes this outlet port here to make it larger or smaller. And it also has this little silicone flap or ring, kind of like on a vertical juicer, to not allow the pulp to come out as easily. You know, say if it's on, something like the sorbet, it just opens it up completely. On the veggie mode, it's open just a tad, and on the fruit mode, it basically covers it completely so that you get maybe the maximum extraction out. So there are kind of like two minor adjustments on this machine here. Now I do like that on this machine there is a little flap on the bottom that you basically could close to prevent drips on your counter. The Omega does not have that little part on it, but also this is another piece to break and also to wash. So I kind of appreciate that there is no flap to have to deal with. So to assemble this machine, let's see, we're going to have it set up on the veggie mode. We're just going to basically drop that in, lock it in. We're going to go ahead and take our auger, shove that all the way in there. Oh, now the other thing I want to mention on this style machine, you know, there is no juicing screen. So this is an innovation. So number one, the machine's running backwards. Number two, there's no juicing screen on this machine, which, you know, people complain about being hard to clean. Now, luckily on the Omega 8007, this is one of the easiest screens to clean. Probably takes me about 90 seconds to clean this juicer because there is minimal screen area to clean on this juicer, right? On this juicer, actually there is no stainless steel screen. It's actually only a plastic screen, you know, that the juice comes through, and actually the holes are rather large. So to me, what that means is that this is going to make a significantly more pulpy juice, but we will check that out when we do a juice off comparison, whereas this machine has much smaller holes. The holes literally on this screen are literally only in the bottom of this drum right here, and on this machine there's a lot more holes, and they're a lot more fine, so you're going to probably get a lot more yield, and this is going to be more of a smoothie consistency. That's just my guess. I don't really know because I haven't used it. To date, all the juicers that I've tested that have not had a real stainless steel screen with holes in it have produced a pulpier juice, and I personally expect no difference in this. And honestly, I like the design of this if it's going to work, but to me this is kind of like hokey. There's a lot of like moving parts and things to break, and just kind of looks cheap to me. In addition, you know, the funnel is quite small on the Aicook, and it's actually significantly larger. You could probably fit 1, 2, maybe like 2.5 funnels from the Aicook compared to the 8007. I really like the funnel on the 8007. They really did it right. Alright, to assemble this machine once again, we're just going to go ahead and take this drum. This is on the open. We're going to slide that in there, slide it to close. Then we're going to take the auger, super simple, super easy. This is going to go all the way back in. Now please be aware this does not seat completely to the back. There is a little bit gap, and this will be a little bit loose. It is designed like that. And then the screen goes in. The first stage screen always face down, right in, and then this end cap goes on, and make sure it's all the way to tighten, and make sure your setting is set to 5 if you're juicing hard vegetables. Okay, on the Aicook, this piece drops in first, and then you slide it back. It basically locks into place. Let's see, we are on veggie setting. The auger then goes in backwards. This is quite unique. Push that in there. And then finally we have the outlet cap that determines how much pulp is going in your juice, and we will set this to the less pulp amount because I want the least amount of pulp, because this is going to probably put less pulp as it is, okay? So Aicook has many different juicers for sale, and before we go on, I want to say that the model on this is the SJ-G1, and this is the Omega 8007. Now both these machines come with a pusher. This one has a plastic pusher that's clear, which goes right in, and then this has a plastic pusher with a little silicone thing on it that kind of helps to squeegee as you put it in. Let's see, check these pushers out. I think they're not interchangeable, although the feed chute is pretty much the same size. Maybe the feed chute on the Aicook like a hair larger, not significantly bigger. The next thing I want to share with you guys is that some juicers could do more than just juice. Many of the inexpensive juicers you're going to find online only will make juice. Other juicers may do other features. So I'm glad to say that the Omega 8007 is one of those machines that could do more for you than just juice. So literally this is like putting money in your bank, because now you don't have to buy a second machine to do a different process. So for example, this machine, aside from having the juicing screen here, which has the holes in it, this is known as the blank cone. You can put this in the machine, and now everything you put this through the machine will basically be ground up like an old-fashioned meat grinder. Whether you want to grind up, you know, boneless meats, or whether you want to grind up cabbage like the Ann Wigmore Institute in Puerto Rico does. They basically grind up cabbage, they get out the cabbage that's ground up, and then they basically ferment that into sauerkraut in just a few days. You could grind up your coffee beans, but do not put cinnamon sticks in here. I had a customer put in cinnamon sticks and it damaged his juicer. They are too hard. You can mince up things like garlic. I've made things like salsa by just putting all the produce through, grinding it all up. I've made ground up salads. If you can't chew, you could put all the salad ingredients through here. It'll grind it all up into like a mush so you guys could eat it. But the most popular feature to use with the blank is to make frozen fruit sorbet. So people would call it banana ice cream. All it is basically ripe bananas you buy for cheap when they're getting brown spotted in the little bags at the store for cheap. You peel them, you freeze them, you take them out, you put them through this machine with this blank plate in, and then out comes this end. Basically, you got the frozen sorbet, kind of like, you know, frozen yogurt that would come out of the machines when you turn the machine on. It comes out, right? 100% bananas. This is an excellent thing to do if you're trying to get rid of dairy in your diet, because dairy causes allergies and does a lot of other things. Not healthy in my opinion. I would much rather eat frozen banana sorbet. But besides just frozen banana sorbet, you can make sorbet with frozen peaches, frozen nectarines, frozen cherries. I like to do a little bit of banana and then a lot of wild blueberries. You know, Costco and Trader Joe's are excellent for buying some frozen fruits that are ready to go, and you can just instantly make an easy frozen dessert on a hot summer day. This is especially good for children. You're trying to get to eat healthy, because 100% frozen fruit does not have any sugar added like ice cream, where the added and processed sugar, monodiglycerides, and all these other artificial flavors and colors, right? I want you guys to eat real food, and the juicer is the appliance to allow you to do that, to not only get juices, but also make your own fruit sorbet desserts. In addition, another popular use of this attachment is to make things like nut butters, right? You could put roasted peanuts through here and make a crunchy peanut butter. If you put raw nuts through here, it grinds up the raw nuts into a powder. You got to put it back a number of times to kind of get it to congeal and kind of bring the oil out more, or you could just add some oil into it to get it to all stick together. And that's a great use for that. Now, the other thing you guys can do is that they have these attachments here. So these nozzles here that you could put in will extrude your pasta. So if you want to make pasta and extrude the shapes, you got to make the dough with the flour, the water, whatever goes in there in pasta. I have no idea. You put it through here and it basically makes the pasta-like shapes. And they also have a mochi attachment for those of you guys that are Asian. You could make like the Japanese mochi, you know, with this attachment as it comes out to make the little mochi tubes. It's like that, like rice cake, right? So, you know, here's the thing. The Omega juicer will do a lot more than just juice. So to me, that's easily worth the extra $100 price tag over the Aicook, because in the end, what is a juicer? You know, yeah, the juicer juices, but it allows you to eat healthier, and there's no price you guys could put on your health. In addition, of course, the warranty 5 times longer. So anyways, let's go ahead and get this juicer set back up for juicing quickly and easily. Before we move on to the next thing I want to share with you guys, which is actually, you know, while these machines like might look the same, and yes, juicers are basically, they just have like motors with some extra parts on there. I want to turn them on so you guys can hear how they sound. So turn on the Aicook here. And so that has a nice, pretty quiet sound. Actually has a click when it turns on, and then it's actually running backwards, which is a little bit odd to me. And then if we turn that machine off, we could turn on the 8007. This has a lot more, in my opinion, powerful sounding motor. Now yes, it is a little bit louder than that, but this is still a slow juicer. Not going to wake your family up like one of those high-speed machines, you know, that you may have previously owned that runs at 13,000 RPMs that literally could wake up a sleeping baby. Now, aside from the sound this makes, the other thing I want to show you guys, and I got out my shipping scale right here, is the weight of these juicers, right? So we're going to go ahead and tear this out. We're going to go ahead and take the juicing parts off so we have a fair comparison. We take the juicing parts off. And on the Aicook, right, we could lift this up and put it on. Oh, and I'll show you guys this. Show you guys that it's actually 000. We're going to put that on the scale, and what does it read out at? Reads out at like what? I'm seeing 5.5, if that's correct. No, 5.4. This is 5.4 pounds. All right, yeah, that's 5 pounds. That's a 5-pound motor. It's pretty solid when it's got some suction cup feet, and it's a 150 watt motor on there that it pulls, right? 150 watts. And over on the Omega, it's a lot heavier. I'm glad it has a little handle here. A lot heavier. And we're going to go ahead and put that on the scale. Put that up in front so you guys can see that. And what is that measuring out at? Looks like to me, well, 10.3. So literally, when you're spending $100 more, you're getting more than twice the motor in there. For those of you guys that are into motors and electrics and all this stuff, you guys know that it's the copper windings that make how powerful the motor is. The more copper in there, the heavier the motor, the more basically magnetism things it could cause and make the motor spin, and basically the more powerful it is. And on the bottom of the Omega, You know, it says, oh, this is also ETL listed, which is a safety feature. And this one is actually rated at 200 watts. So technically, this has a little bit more, draws a bit more power and is a lot more heavy duty. So, you know, I definitely bank my money on the Omega having a more durable motor that's going to last a long time. After all, Omega's warranting not just the motor for 15 years, but the whole entire machine for 15 years on their unit, you know, and they have confidence in the machine because they know they built it right. Whereas the Aicook 2-year warranty, unless you register online, then you got an extra 1-year warranty. The motor is less than half the weight, right? Let's go ahead and assemble this guy. But you might think, oh, but I saved $100. Well, you know, here's the thing. Say this goes out on year 4, right? You got to buy a new juicer. There's no more warranty on it, and you probably can't get parts anymore because Aicook has discontinued this. This has been a long-standing model with Omega, and I do not foresee the warranty support or the parts going away anytime soon because Omega basically, to their peril on some levels, finds a machine that works and then they just sell it forever, and they don't really upgrade it or make any major improvements in it, although there are some minor improvements in some of their newer models. You know, that's why this is my favorite, you know, entry-level Omega style juicer. It's time proven and just works really well. So the next thing I want to show you guys is actually the types of produce that these single auger style machines excel at and are not so good at, alright? So here's the thing. If you want to juice things like wheatgrass and leafy greens and sprouts, these are the go-to juicers. So you're going to juice 80% of those ingredients that I mentioned. This is the style machine you want to buy. The single auger horizontal juicers juice the leafy greens, the wheatgrass, and the sprouts the best. They generally get the highest yield, and they don't clog up or jam. As a matter of fact, in the different Omega models, similar to this model, I juiced mature okra that is quite stringy, that would be too hard to eat, but I juiced it, it got the juice out, and kicked the strings right out. This will not happen in a vertical juicer. Alright? On something like hard vegetables and carrots, right? These juicers will juice hard vegetables, carrots and beets, rutabagas and things like that without any issue. Now, they're not going to get the highest yield, but they will produce a high quality juice. Move it to something like fruits. If you want to juice straight pineapple, these are not the style juicers I would recommend to you. The vertical auger juicers are better juicers for juicing straight fruits, although if you want to juice, you know, mostly veggies, leafy green veggies with some roots and some fruits in there mixed in with your recipe, it's going to work wonderfully. Basically, the technique on these style machines when you want to juice fruits is that the fruits are so soft they end up backing up in the feed chute, and I'll post a link down below to a video I made recently using an Omega NC800, which is an upgraded model of this, the model I prefer, but that machine's out of stock currently. So this is the model actually I would recommend as the best alternative aside from the NC900 HDSS, which is a fair bit more. It's actually about double the price of this guy. Alright, so yeah, so then the fruits, this is great if you're going to juice fruits with your veggies and roots, or leafy greens and roots, but not good if you want to just make straight pineapple juice, for example. That's where I might look more towards a vertical juicer. But these are generally good all-purpose, all-around juicers if you want to juice a little bit of anything, not really focusing on too much except the leafy greens. Excellent for juicing mixed juices, and then excellent for making mixed juices. And also this machine, and the reason why I like it is because it's the easiest juicer to clean. Now, this juicer may be quicker to clean than this machine because there is no screen you need to scrub out. That being said, I'm not sure exactly the yield, so you know, if this machine rocks and does good, this might be my new favorite machine. But by the looks of it, I'm not confident that it's going to last a seriously long time, especially for somebody that's really heavy-duty juicing. And that's the other thing, right? If you guys are new into juicing, never juiced before, and you're just like, I just want to get something cheap, this may be your ticket to get your feet wet in the door, but also it may also lead to frustration because it's not a, I don't think it's a well-designed machine, but we will see when I test it. And then you're just going to get frustrated and say, oh, that juicing is garbage, it doesn't work. Well, maybe that's because you didn't get a good machine. And also for me, juicing should be a lifestyle choice, much like most of you guys have coffee makers in your kitchen and you probably make coffee every day. Maybe some of you guys make tea every day. To me, I drink fresh juice every day. I drink like 70 ounces of juice a day approximately because I know it is so important and vital for my health. And I feel great when I drink it. And from the testimonials I've gotten from people when they started incorporating juice and drinking juice instead of eating breakfast, for example, they feel much, much better. And I want that for you guys, and I want you guys to buy a machine that's going to allow you to do that for the rest of your life with having the minimal amounts of issues and not having to rebuy a new juicer every couple years, because literally you bought a disposable one. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and weigh out and juice even amounts of celery and cucumber in both machines, and we're going to time it so you guys can see how much yield each juicer makes, as well as how long each juicer takes to juice. Alright, so as you guys can see, we got a bunch of celery, basically 2 heads of celery and 1 cucumber in each measuring bowl here on the scales, and now we're going to do a weigh-in to make sure we have a fair fight. Alright, let's go ahead and give you guys a close-up on the scales. Over on the Omega side, looks like we have a total of 17 grams, and over on the Aicook side, looks like we have a total of 17 grams. So we're gonna go back and get both of them in the picture. 15, 17, both scales. Looks like we have an even fight with even amounts of celery and cucumber. So now that we saw we got a fair weigh-in, we're gonna go ahead and move the scales out of the way. I might be bringing these back later to kind of measure out the pulp that was generated on each machine. But we're gonna move these out of the way for now, and we're gonna go ahead and put a stopwatch in place so you guys can see how long it takes to juice in each machine. So I think first I'm going to go ahead and juice in the Aicok juicer. I've never used it before, so hopefully it goes well. Now they do provide you some collection cups, and I will say that the collection cups on the Aicok are smaller than on the Omega, though included collection cups on both machines are plastic. I prefer to use glass, so I'm using some different glass measuring cups here to catch the juice. On the Aicook, we have it set to the veggie mode and on to the less pulp. And what we're going to do is we're just going to feed 1 piece of celery in at a time, pushing it with the pusher. And then we're going to go probably have to pre-cut the cucumber because it's going to get stuck in the feed chute if we do not pre-cut it. And we're going to do this all kind of like in real time. I may speed this up if it's non-eventful, all right? So the first step is we're going to go ahead and hit start on the stopwatch and turn the machine on, and we're just going to start feeding in celery. To me, this is a trip. The celery is literally running backwards into the juicer, and it runs back literally like 2 inches before it gets juiced. It's really not having a long time of getting crushed and squeezed, in my personal opinion. Although so far so good, it looks like this is actually working fairly well. This looks fairly uneventful. I am seeing like a bunch of celery kind of getting wrapped up in there, and we're just going to go ahead and cut up the cucumber and put little bits in. That's the best way to process cucumber. Don't put all the celery and then all the cucumber. You want to put like celery and then alternate it with some of the cucumber. Generating a lot of pulp, and I'm feeling the pulp, and the pulp is actually coming out, you know, in my personal opinion, a fair bit wet. And the other thing I don't like about the Aicook, if you guys look when I'm pushing on this whole machine kind of bends down forward. So I'm concerned that over time this base is going to be weak and it's going to break. And then basically your juicer is going to be non-functional because it's not that stable on its feet. Now we are getting a little bit of backup in the housing here from pulp that is literally not going through the entire machine. And we're going to press down the pulp so we can make sure it all fits in the collection cup there. Let's go ahead and put in another celery. So since this is fairly uneventful, what I'm going to do for you guys next is we're going to go ahead and I'm going to finish juicing in this. We're going to go ahead and fast forward this so you guys can see the process. And we're going to come back at you when I'm all done. Alright, so we're just about done juicing in the Aicok juicer. This is the last piece of celery going in. This has been pretty much uneventful other than the collection cup I was using due to the spacing. You know, doesn't really hold a lot, so I actually had to empty it out because it kind of was dripping and overflowing on here. But other than that, I gotta say this juicer seemed to work pretty good. I mean, basically a whole pitcher of juice here. Once you put the last produce item in the machine, you want to let the machine run a little bit to make sure it squeezes out all the juice, and it looks like we're pretty much done. How to know when you're finished is that the pulp stops flowing out of the machine and the juice stops dripping. You're pretty much done, and we're gonna go ahead and call that a day there. So it took about 6 minutes to juice in the Aicok juicer. I doubt the Omega is going to be significantly faster. Might be a little bit faster, but not much. Go ahead and turn this machine on and hit the start button. And we're just going to start feeding in the produce. Make sure this is set to 5 once again. To me, this seems a little more solid when I'm juicing. And you know, with this machine, there's a lot of backup in here. With this, it's pretty much just going through and juicing straight away, pretty easily. This sounds like a lot more durable, solid motor to me. And according to the looks of it, the pulp on the Omega is coming out a lot more dry, but we will see when we're all done. Once again, the best technique for juicing something like this, the celery with the cucumbers, put in a couple stalks of celery, then cut up, a few pieces of cucumber, and and put it in as you're dropping in the celery. You gotta cut this up because it won't fit entirely in the feed chute there. Alright, now we're just going to go ahead and put in some of the cucumber in there. Alright, so this is going to be pretty uneventful, I think. And what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and speed this video up for you guys. And we're going to come back at you when I'm all finished. Down to the last piece of celery in the Omega 8007. This is working quite well. Actually, I filled up the first collection cup about to the same point that the Aicook filled up theirs, and then I put an additional collection cup, and already we filled this up and made an extra 1 cup of juice. So instantly right there, this machine made like more yield, which is good. In addition, I mean, the pulp to me seems significantly drier. And we'll be inspecting that in a little bit. And the time looks like it's 6 minutes and 36 seconds. So it's approximately the same amount of time. I mean, this guy took a little bit longer. For whatever reason, I did slow down a little bit, but for all practical purposes, they would have taken the same juicing time. But all else being equal, this machine yielded at least a cup more juice, okay? So let's go ahead and move this out of the way here. And let's go ahead. First, I like to always tip the machine up and back and make sure there's no more juice. We can put this flap up on this guy. And on the Omega, we're going to tip it forward and tip it backwards and get the extra juice out of it. And then we can move that up. And I like to always put the catch cup underneath the juicer, or the pulp catch underneath the juicer to catch any drips. If you don't have a little flap, and actually that's a bit easier than cleaning an extra flap and having parts breakage. So this is the juice on the Aicook, and this is the juice on the Omega. These are actually quite full, so I don't want to tip these over for you guys. So that's about the same amount. And then on the Omega, look at this. We made a whole extra cup. More than a cup, actually. And so I want to go ahead and do a close-up for you guys on the specific juice. The next thing I want to do for you guys is we're going to go ahead and compare the juices. Now, it is quite evident that the Omega juicer made, I think, way more yield than the Aicook. By how much, it's a little bit difficult to measure with these collection cups. So we're just going to go ahead and use the same collection cup. More importantly, with a sieve, on a lot of inexpensive Chinese juicers such as the Aicook, they tend to put a lot more pulp in the juice. They're not quite as refined. And I know some people don't like pulp in the juice, so we're going to go ahead and pour all the juice through the same sieve to see how much pulp each juicer generated. And we're going to go ahead and pour this slowly so I do not waste any of my valuable, precious cucumber celery juice. There is a fair bit of pulp in this. Now, the other thing I want to mention is that it did take about 6 minutes to juice in both juicers today. And actually, The Aicook has a 10-minute, wow, really pulpy at the end of this Aicook juicer. The Aicook has a 10-minute duty cycle, which means that you should only run the juicer for up to 10 minutes and not longer, because you can then burn out the motor. I mean, the motor did not sound that powerful to me personally. So the Omega juicer has a 30-minute juicing duration cycle, and that means you could juice 3 times as much juice, and in this case this took about 6 minutes. If we round down to 5 minutes, you could juice 5 times as much juice in the Omega before you have to shut it off, where you can only juice maybe like twice as much of this in the Aicook and have to shut it off, or it might get damaged due to overheating. Alright, so we poured that juice off, and now we're going to go ahead and pour the juice off in the Omega. The pulp in the Aicook was fairly significant, and we're not even looking at the pulp that was created, which the Aicook, in my personal opinion, made a lot wetter pulp. And I mean, this is just evident by the yield. I mean, the yield on the Omega is already so much more superior simply than the Aicook. Oh, the Omega is making a little bit of pulpy juice here at the end as well. And that's just 1 cup here. And then now we have this whole extra cup the Omega made. Let's pour that through very carefully here. We're gonna max out the measuring cup here. I think we're gonna get pretty much to the top. All right, all that got juiced out. And once again, I like to personally sieve out the extra pulp. You guys can drink this; it's not an issue. But I know some of you guys are purists. If you guys go to like a juice bar, generally those juices made with a high-speed machine or a hydraulic cold press style machine generally make basically 0 pulp, and that's why you'd want to get a sieve. I believe the Omega 8007 does include a sieve, and actually the Aicook does not. All right, so shook out that pulp there, and shook out the pulp here. And now you get a fair comparison of how much yield each juicer made up front and center. And let's go ahead and do a close-up. All right, let's go ahead and give you guys a close-up on the juices on the Aicook side. Looking at the markings on the glass there, looks like we have mainly, I don't know if we look really close, what is that? 700 and maybe 60 milliliters of juice. And over on the Omega side, I mean, we are basically up over 1 liter of juice. So, I mean, that's what you get, guys, when you spend $100 less. You get less juice. I don't know about you, but I buy organic produce. Organic produce is expensive. You're literally wasting, and you're going to get 25% yield less in the Aicook, you know. So, to me, that's just simply not worth it, plus all the other reasons, the 5 times longer warranty, you know, the longer duty cycle, and the ability to make sorbets and process other food. Alright, so you guys just saw how the Omega made approximately 25% more juice than the Aicook, but let's learn more about the juice created. Let's find out about the pulp that was put into each juice. So we're going to go ahead and zero out our scale, and all else being equal with this sieve being, why don't we just dump the pulp here on the sieve. That's 37 grams of pulp on the Omega side, and setting that back up down to 0, and the pulp on the Aicook side right here, 42 grams. So you know, the pulp in the juice pretty much the same, which is about an acceptable level to me. The Aicook put a little bit more pulp in the juice, and maybe some of the pieces were actually a lot larger, you know, because the screen is a little bit different. Now, what is different to me is the pulp that was generated with each machine. So, for example, over here, if we simply weigh out the pulp that was generated by the Omega, it's actually quite dry, and we could probably compress this all and then just drop this on to the scale. Not the cleanest thing to do, but I'm doing it for you guys. 395 grams of pulp that's fairly dry. I mean, I could probably wring this out with my hand and probably squeeze a little bit out, but let's move over to the Aicook side next. This pulp is significantly more wet. Let's see how we're going to do this carefully here. We got this pulp here. And then we got this pulp here that was like the overflow pulp that came out the first time. Let's see if I can carefully get this on the scale without overflowing it here. And we did lose a little pulp off the side, and that spilled away. But for the most part, this pulp is 641 grams, so it's significantly, more wet than the pulp on the Omega side. And literally that is where the extra juice that is not in the container went. The pulp is significantly wetter. Plus, I want to show you guys actually what's left in the juicer when we're done. So with the Omega, easy to clean. Take this part off. You could, put the pulp back in there. You could go ahead and pull this piece out here. The main assembly, this part is fairly easy to clean. And in here, you're going to see a little bit of pulp around the end, which we will wipe off there. And then there's a little bit of pulp in the screen, not a big deal. I just blast water through here and take the included cleaning brush and clean it out. And then you guys can see the screen is pretty impacted with pulp, but once you start scrubbing this, it'll come off fairly easily, all right? So there was not a lot of pulp left in the Omega, after you are done juicing with it. And then let's go ahead and check out the Aicook here. So on the Aicook, let's see, press this button to release. And then there's like all this pulp literally jamming out the bottom. We could unscrew this front, pretty clean there. If we press out this auger here, piece of celery that did not get juice right there, and a little bit on the auger here, and then inside the housing, pretty much the same amount, and a lot of celery left in here. I'd say it did a fairly good job at grinding it up, although it was not efficient. You could see a lot of the strings are kind of getting stuck here. It's not as effective like chopping up the strings. Wow, look at that. That's a big long string. And if we look at the Omega, the strings are significantly more chopped up more effectively. Now, keep in mind, like, cucumbers will make a more pulpy juice from the get-go, right? Compared to celery, celery does not make a very pulpy juice in general. Although if you're juicing something like carrots, the pulp in the juice will be magnified because the way this machine works with no screen design, it'll put a lot more pulp in the juice compared to this. Plus, based on this test, it's going to be a lot less efficient as well. All right. So once again, this is the Aicook juice. This is the Omega juice. Now for giggles, what I'm going to do next is we're going to go ahead and take another collection cup there, which actually this is more Omega juice. It's settled out. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to rejuice the Aicook juice, or Aicook pulp that we generated, which was in this container, through the Omega 8007 to see if we could wring out the extra yield that the Aicook was not able to get out with the Omega 8007. Generally, you can rejuice pulp in many juicers to some degree. Some juicers it will not work as well on. So we're just going to go ahead and put a handful of this in at a time and press this in the machine and give the machine a little bit of time to work. As you guys can see, it's instantly wringing out the wet pulp because it is so wet. The Aicook was so inefficient. And let's just see how much more juice we get. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward this because this is really not super exciting, rejuicing pulp. It will kind of back up and come back up at you, but that's alright. That's just part of the process. You want to just make sure you hold the pusher down, and that's why I like the little ring on here. It kind of keeps it down in there, and you're just going to go ahead and keep feeding the pulp in. It's going to want to push back up at you, but that's alright. Just keep pushing it in there, and it's going to basically push it out, first in, first out. So let's go ahead and speed this up for you guys to show you guys the end result when we're done. Alright, so we're almost done juicing all this extra pulp, or the wet pulp, through the 8007 juicer that the Aicook juicer could not extract. It is working quite well. This pulp coming out this time is significantly more dry, and I'm going to weigh it up for you in a second. And actually this collection cup, which is only measured out at 1 cup, is basically pretty much going to overflow at any time now. So, you know, once we put the last wet pulp in, I take a little bit of dry pulp that's completely wrung out. I mean, literally it's very hard for me to squeeze even a couple of drops of juice out. We're going to put that in to get this wet pulp that just got in there a little bit drier, but I think we're starting to overflow the collection cup here. So I better basically turn this off here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this juice that we just created that's basically overflowing, and we're going to pour that into the Aicook. And look at that. We're making even more juice than we made originally because the pulp was so wet. This is probably equivalent to what the Omega 8007 made the first time. Now please keep in mind the pulp generated on the second pressing from rejuicing will be more pulp, in the secondary juice when you're rejuicing, the wet pulp, right? But yeah, look at that. So now actually it looks like even the Aicook made more juice than the Omega. Of course, we could rejuice the Omega pulp if we really wanted to, but to me, this is already fairly dry. It's a little bit wet. It's more wet than the pulp that's been juiced 2 times. But I'm confident if we rejuice this pulp in here into this side, we would still end up making more juice. Basically, we're showing how inefficient the Aicok juicer is and how much more efficient the Omega is because it's literally able to pull out the extra juice out of the pulp that the Aicook could not. So in the end of this video, I'm going to go ahead and declare the winner of this juice off comparison. And to me, the winner is clear. I would much rather spend about $100 more on a juicer that has a 5 times longer warranty, 15 years on the warranty. I would much rather spend an extra $100 on a juicer that's going to not be landfill garbage in 4 years if it breaks. I'm going to spend my extra $100 on a machine that could run for 30 minutes and make significantly more juice in that time, especially if you have a big family or are a heavy-duty juicer like I am. I'm going to spend my extra $100 on getting a machine that is supported by a company that is in America that you could drive to their front door if you wanted to and knock on their door. I don't know if they'd be able to help you due to COVID. I would much rather spend my extra $100 on a machine that could do more than just juice, that could make fruit sorbets and make nut butters and allow you and your family to eat more of the most beneficial plant foods on the entire planet. And that is simply, in this case, the Omega 8007. This is the machine, this is the low-end Omega machine that I recommend the most because it's quite durable, and more importantly, it's time-proven. Omega has come out with some more recent juice models that I will not mention in this video that are not quite as durable or time-proven as the 8007, and that's why this is my favorite go-to pick at present time when the Omega NC 800, which actually is my favorite over this one, is currently out of stock for at least the next 2 months. All right. Oh, and then finally, we're going to go ahead and try the juices. I don't expect the juices to taste really any different. I mean, these are both slow juicers. They work on a similar process by grinding and squeezing, After putting through that sieve, it's a nice, clean juice. Uber delicious. Definitely the celery is quite strong today. So good. So if you guys enjoyed this episode and gained knowledge from it and you appreciate it, please be sure to support me and my work by making your purchase at discountjuicers.com. If you want to buy the 8007 juicer, check the link right down below. The first comment will be a link to this juicer on our website so you can support me directly, which allows me to continue to make these videos showing you guys the truth about juicers. I mean, if this juicer went, I'd say, yes, buy this one. Unfortunately, it made 25% less juice. It made a wetter pulp. And, this screenless design, I don't think it's quite there yet, right? In addition, I'm not impressed with the short warranty or having Aicook get back to me, which they actually have never gotten back to me when I've emailed them in inquiry, which concerns me a lot. I mean, I emailed Omega today and they emailed me back today. So, I mean, that's how it should work. Although I cannot say this would be your exact, results. I do have a special connections with Omega. And that's the other thing. If you guys purchase from me, you will have me as your liaison to ensure that you get warranty service from Omega should you have issues. Provided you have a legitimate warranty claim, I'm here to literally go to bat for you to make sure that Omega honors their warranty that they have given to you when you purchase their machine from Discount Juicers. If you purchase from anywhere else, I'm not able to help you with your warranty support, and you would have to contact Omega directly or go through the retailer that you purchased the juicer from. So I want to thank you guys for those of you guys that will support me in advance, and I want to thank you guys who have supported me in the future. It literally allows me to make a living and put food on my table, and I love sharing the knowledge of juicers, and truly, you know, I am just a customer too. You don't understand. I juice, you know, pretty much every day. I drink 70 ounces of juice every day before even a morsel of food touches my lips. And so I'm the biggest customer. If I find there's a juicer, even if it's not one I sell that's better, I'm going to use that myself in my kitchen. But unfortunately, I haven't found that to date with the inexpensive Chinese machines. They simply do not have the R&D, you know, that is required, or more importantly, the experience like Omega has, you know, making juices for many years. They know exactly how to make it just right so you guys get good performance, and more importantly, a durable product that will last you for many years to come. Also, be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you like this comparison. Also, be sure to share this with somebody else that is looking to buy an Aicook juicer. You know, I just like telling the truth to you guys and sharing you guys the honest truth instead of maybe reviews that are fake, or, you know, reviews that are paid off because Aicook sent somebody a juicer and they make a video and it says, oh, the juicer's great, and it's maybe not that good. You know, this is my actual experience. I'm not making up stuff here, and I want you guys to make the best purchase for you and your family so you guys can become juicers for life, and more importantly, change your life. Get the benefits you want from juicing, whether that's weight loss benefits, whether that's improvement of health benefits, whether that means you're trying to, you know, work with a health opportunity that you're trying to reverse and providing your body some of the best nutrition on the planet, whether you're trying to juice the medical medium celery because you've heard all the testimonials that people have gotten from simply drinking celery juice instead of eating their breakfast in the morning. This is completely amazing, completely great. I'm glad you watched to the end of this video. But also be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new and upcoming episodes. You never know what two juicers, what new appliances I will be comparing that will allow you to eat more of the most beneficial foods on the entire planet. Simply the fruits and vegetables that I love so much, that are an integral part of my diet. Also, make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as my new videos come out. And finally, be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are all wealth of knowledge, over 500 episodes at this time on this YouTube channel, dedicated to comparing and contrasting all the different major brand juicers, as well as other appliances that allow you to ramp up your nutrition game by getting more of the beneficial plant foods into you. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors.